The big news is the Kickstarter launch is only 6 days away. That means that beginning on Monday, March 19th, 6 a.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern time, whatever time that translates into in your respective country, you'll be able to go on Kickstarter and start purchasing the chair. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time just sort of talking about what's top of mind related to launch and what kind of stuff we're working on these days, where are we directing our energy. And I think the first thing that comes up is the prototyping. So we've made an effort. I'll just sort of use the first person because it's easier. I've made an effort from the beginning to make sure that once we go live, we have serviceable working prototypes that are in circulation, that can be shared with reviewers, etc., that actually do what they say they're going to do. And a big piece of that is just creating the relationship. So one of the things that I've been really stunned by, and it's been a learning experience for me, but also something where it's been eye-opening, just sort of how many tools there are, is the Alibaba platform. And Alibaba, in case you're not familiar with it, it sort of gets the reputation of being the Amazon of China. And in some ways, that's kind of true. They sort of follow more of an eBay model, from what I understand, domestically, although they do have some Amazon type business as well. In this context, that's not what we're talking about. The Alibaba that we're using, that we've been using to develop the relationships with the manufacturers and with the ballistic material suppliers, is essentially like, think of it as a Google for worldwide business to business commerce. So I need ballistic chairs manufactured for a Kickstarter campaign. I'm going to go on Alibaba and I'm either going to look at existing ballistic chairs, or I'm going to put out a request for a quote for ballistic chairs. Now that's sort of a funny example, and it illustrates one of the pitfalls of disrupting with a new product, because obviously there are no ballistic chair manufacturers on Alibaba or anywhere else for that matter, because we're the first ones who are doing it. So that means that we've had to be a little creative, but it's besides sort of some neat functionality around the conversion. It's a relatively simple product, right? It's a stadium style chair that's been modified. It's had some design enhancements, but it's something that any company that has experience building stadium style chairs, uh, with a little bit of coaching, should be able to build. Um, Now, that doesn't mean that they have experience doing all of the things related to the ballistics, like the testing, the quality control. All of that stuff happens with our ballistics suppliers. So that was a little more straightforward. China is a really interesting place to look for ballistic protection these days. There's a lot of there's approaches that they are trying, and that actually have been pretty well established and tested, that really haven't broken into the mainstream US yet. So a good example of that is our ballistic plate. It's a level 4 plate, which is the most protective plate that you can get. It's hypothetically, it stops assault rifle bullets. And actually we have certification that the plate is effective against things like an AR-15. The way that they do it is sort of unique. They have a layer of polyethylene, similar to our soft material, but it's in a hard version of that, that serves to reinforce a layer of ceramics that actually provides the first contact with the bullet, demonstrating the fact that I've been neck deep in ballistics and those types of materials for probably too long now. But my point is that there's manufacturers out there that are putting this type of thing together, and they make it available on Alibaba the same way that you would go on Amazon as a consumer to buy mouse traps, right? Or let's stay humane, to buy mouse catch and release traps. So what I'm sort of getting at is that it's a combination of two things. It's finding the products that you need and the manufacturers that are going to supply them, and then it's also sort of creating the relationships and the networks for those different suppliers to be able to work together and with you to be able to create the product that you want. So in our case, what we did is we put out a bid to about probably north of 20, 25 different ballistics manufacturers. And then we actually also put a public bid out, just letting people come to us. So we went to them. We also allowed people to come to us. We explained what our requirements were. We did the same thing with the chairs. With the chairs, it was maybe more in the order of 10 to 15, but same kind of approach. We looked at companies that were doing stadium style outdoor chairs today. We explained to them a little bit about what we wanted to do and how they would actually be receiving third-party materials to integrate into their chairs. That's the ballistics. And we found three, in fact. And I won't go into detail into this, partly because I don't want to overlap with what I talked about in my first post. But we did find three manufacturers who all sent prototypes. We tested the prototypes out. We saw what they did well. What were they good at communicating? Were they good at following directions? And ultimately, we ended up getting one manufacturer who did all of this very well, and a ballistics material supplier, one for the soft panels and one for the hard panels, that will be able to ship to the chair vest facilities in China for insertion into the final product. We're still working out how it's going to work with the ballistic plate, whether we ship that separately or we integrate it in China, but either way, it'll be able to be received, either be done by the customer or done for the customer in advance. So that's where we're at with the prototyping. One of the goals that, well, one of the issues that we've discussed recently is sizing and looking at whether we wanted to offer a child-sized chair slash vest or a jumbo adult size. One of the challenges, interesting, with the adult size chairs, or with the large adult size chairs, sort of an unexpected challenge was naming. We thought, well, if we do have a large adult size chair, what do we call it that conveys the message that it's a larger chair without making it sound like it offers enhanced protection? Because clearly, if we use a word like plus or extra, right, when you're talking about a bulletproof vest, that sort of conveys the messaging that this is a superior vest in some sort of protective way, which is not the case. So just sort of a little thing that took more thought than we anticipated. Ultimately, we decided not to go with the various sizes, partly because we've demonstrated the vest on a 5-year-old who was in the neighborhood of 50 to 60 pounds. Works for him as a chair. It worked for him as a vest. Obviously, it looked like he was getting into his dad's suit closet, but it still provided quite a bit of protection, even more so than a normal person. And then all the way on the high end of the scale, an adult who's pushing 6'2", weighs 240, it fit him as well. So it's a wide range of people that the vest will fit, depending on how you adjust it. And we felt that on launch, we didn't need to scramble last minute to try to come up with alternative sizes. We'll see how the one size fits all approach does. If we end up relaunching on Kickstarter, either because we don't get enough traction or we get too much traction, we'll reevaluate that. Circling back to the prototypes real quick, we're going to have 10 coming in the next week or so. We would love to be able to send them to review sites or journalists that would like to conduct tests on those materials. So if that's you, or if you know someone who you think would be good to who would like to take a look at the product, either shoot it, see how fast they can get it on, has an audience that would like to be engaged with Pridwin, let us know. We'll get the ball rolling on that right away. In other news, real quick, we've got a 60-second video spot. Looks like that's about 1/10 the length of this video. So if you're still watching, if you've made it to 10 minutes, then surely you can spare one more minute. Go check out our 1 minute spot. It's sort of a condensed version of our longer video, which we released within the last week. Also, just again, Kickstarter, March 19th, 6 a.m. Eastern Time. I'm going to be following that up on Wednesday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time, 12 p.m. Eastern Time with an Ask Me Anything on Reddit. Um, so check that out if you're interested, if you're on the fence, if you're already a convert and you just like to see more or hear more. Um, I think I may have said may have said 6 a.m. Eastern time. It's 6 a.m. Pacific time, 9 a.m. Eastern time. All right, that's it. We'll wrap things up. Thanks for tuning in. Next week we will do a blog, probably a day that either the day it launches or the day after. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching and thanks for your support.